Hello everyone, and you join me on a very cold January 1st, 2021. So I want to first off take this opportunity to say Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully 2021 is a little bit better than 2020. Fortunately, we've been having to live through this COVID-19 pandemic, and it's not been great. It's not been a very fun time. But as you can tell by the title of this video, I have bought a new car, which I want to share with you all. It's been about 2 years since I uploaded a video to my YouTube channel, and 3 since I actually did a review of a car. So before I show you my new car, I'm actually going to put a timestamp in the video if you want to fast forward to it. I'm going to have to fill in the gaps here. So as everybody who's been following my YouTube channel for the past number of years knows, I owned a 2008 Opel Astra, which I bought a little over 6 years ago now, I'd say. And I owned that car for quite some time, and as a first car, it was a very good one. Very good looking sporty 3-door hatchback. Certainly did like it. And then I stopped making YouTube videos, and I just want to say that I'm not actually back full-time making YouTube videos, but I did buy this new car, wanted to share it, and these days with the lockdowns I have all the time in the world to make videos. But what a lot of you guys won't know is that in January 2019 I did buy my second car to replace the Astra, and I bought a 2015 Vauxhall Insignia SRI. Now, I did intend to put some footage of that car on YouTube, and I did actually make a video. I had GoPro footage as well of driving around in the car, but unfortunately that GoPro footage has been lost. I have no idea what happened to it. But I do have footage of me going around the car and giving you guys just a walkthrough of it. I never did make it to YouTube because I lost, as I said, the driving footage. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to post that little bit of footage into this video so you guys can see the Insignia, and then we'll move on with my new car. And so here is my Insignia. So I did pick up this car last Wednesday on the 16th of January. Although since I collected the car I have been quite busy with work. So it is now the following week, Tuesday the 22nd, and I'm actually going to do the review of the car now. I was going to do it in a separate video, but I don't think this entire video that I'm making here of the car is going to be particularly long. So we'll just fit the review in now. So this car is of course a Vauxhall, which means it's a UK import. So I did have to get it registered in the Republic of Ireland on a 2015 151 plate. It is a standard SRI finished in sovereign silver. It has the 7-spoke 17-inch standard SRI wheels, although at some point in the near future I'm probably going to swap them out for a nicer set of 18-inch split 5-spokes. Now this is the first generation Insignia, or Insignia A if I'm being specific. This facelift model came out in 2013 and was produced up until 2017. And the first generation Insignia could be had as a 4-door saloon, 5-door liftback and a 5-door estate. My car is the liftback, and it is the best model, probably even better than the estate. The main reason being because it looks like a saloon, so it's got this very nice design. But whereas the estate's boot just kind of opens up at 90 degrees, the liftback opens up quite a fair bit more. If I just stand back here, you can see how far up it goes. And the amount of space in this car is unbelievable. The boot is absolutely massive, can't complain there. It's got some secondary storage. You just got a little strap there and a little net off to the left, where I've actually moved the owner's manual just to free up a bit more space in the glove box, because the owner's manual consumes the entire glove box when it's in there. Now when I did buy this car, it came with one of them tire inflator kits, and it had been used, so my salesman was going to replace it. However, I hate them tire inflator kits personally, so I asked him if he could get me the spare wheel and tool kit, and thankfully he did, so I have that. It's not particularly hard to change a wheel. It's really straightforward. I've done it before, and yeah, as I said, I don't like the tire inflator kits. So the SRI has this little extended small spoiler on the trunk lid itself, or boot lid. It has tinted rear windows and slightly tinted taillights from the factory, and I really like this whole design here with the lights. They look really nice. You got a chrome strip going across the boot, and it continues into the taillights, but you also got the reversing lights integrated, and the car comes with rear parking sensors as standard. It is a really good looking car. And to be honest with you guys, I never even planned on buying an Insignia. I did want to change my Astra for a car at some point in 2019. I didn't intend to do it within the first week of 2019. But this car just came across my Facebook page, loved the look at it, I loved the look of it. And yeah, I just kind of had to buy it. And actually, if I just unlock the car again, the daytime running lights and main headlights turn on. And so do the taillights. So let's just take a look at the back seat. I have reviewed Insignias before, so those of you who've been following me for quite a while will be familiar with what I'm doing. But it's got a lot of space back here, loads of legroom, a little bit of storage and a power outlet. But let's come into the front and get the car started. So the SRI has, I think, the best seats you can get for any Insignia. They're the sports seats with a manual adjusting leg rest. This little piece here adjusts. There's just a handle underneath. They're unbelievably comfortable seats. They have two electrical adjustments. You got the height adjustment here and the lumbar. And then this manual control is for the seat back. And you got two more controls. You got this one and the other one for sliding the seat forward. So let's just get the key out. It's got plenty of storage as well. Got a little storage compartment down here. And it also has some very nice red LED lighting just underneath the door handles. So, let's just get the car started. And a little warning comes up there just warning me about the possibility of ice because it is very cold out. It's like 4 degrees Celsius, I believe. And yeah, the dials just do their little dance there. But the interior of this car is fantastic. I've got the IntelliLink 900 system, touchscreen satellite navigation. This here is the screen in its off mode, I guess, which is powered on. It's all touchscreen, of course. You can get an optional little pad down here, which personally I've never really been a fan of if you want to adjust the screen. So I'd actually rather have this, well, rather tiny storage compartment, I suppose, than the pad. But not only can you use the touchscreen, but you got this dial here and the menu button, which acts as an OK button for going through all sorts of things here. So my phone, I believe, is already connected to the car. It has indeed. My phone connects to it very quickly, thankfully. It also has the built-in satellite navigation. And as you're driving, these two menus here will disappear and the screen for the map will get bigger. And I got my main home button. If I press the little arrow here, it just brings up my radio stations. So this car had just over 50,000 miles when I bought it, although I've converted the screen back into kilometers. So it's about 90,399 kilometers that I have on the car at the moment. So I have that digital screen reading out in kilometers per hour, and then the analog screen off to the right here reads in miles per hour. So it's handy to have both. It's got the sporty 3-spoke leather wrap multifunction steering wheel, which is very nice. Got perforations on the left and right sides, rather thick 10 and 2 notches, very comfy wheel. Standard multifunction controls for voice command and cruise control, and I got my radio controls. And if I use these arrows here, I can go through a variety of menus. So I got my tire pressure monitoring, the oil life, fuel range, trip computers A and B. And if I press left, I got dozens of other features I can go through. I can go through the radio stations, make phone calls from here. Satellite navigation will display when I have a route set, and various other settings. So yeah, it's got a ton of features that I'm pretty happy with. One feature it doesn't have, which I suppose could have been nice to have, is the power folding mirrors. But you know what? It really doesn't matter. This car has a ton of features that I'm very happy with. It's got automatic air conditioning, traction control, and a few storage compartments. There's just an app tray down here with a power outlet. And I'll show you what I was talking about with the glove box. So I've made quite a bit of room in here. When the owner's manual was in, I took up this whole piece, so there's hardly any place to store anything. That's why it has been moved back to the boot. And I've also got some proper cup holders. The little Astra only had one single cup holder, and it was like back here somewhere. I've got two very deep cup holders in here. I had a can of Coke in here the other day, and I was able to put the cover over it. I've also got a leather center-mounted armrest with quite a bit of storage. Another tiny piece of storage here, and if I actually just pull up, because I'm not sure if the lighting is great because it's getting dark, Just got a wee 12-volt power outlet down there. And the car does have an electronic parking brake. Never been a fan of electric parking brakes, but these days with newer, more modern cars such as this, they're pretty hard to avoid. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I think we'll actually just open up the engine here. Not a whole lot to see, but may as well give you guys a look around while we're at it. Okay, where's the catch? There it is. So it's a 2-litre diesel, makes about 140 horsepower, and it's a very good engine. It's very solid, very smooth and quiet, and it has plenty of pulling power. The engine bay cleaned up very nicely. It wasn't particularly dirty to begin with, just the top of the filters and the engine cover were just a bit dirty. And the road tax in this car is just €180 per year, which is really cheap. Probably one of the cheapest tax bands for cars in Ireland. But yeah, I also love the way them LED tail lights lock when they're all lit up. So that was my Insignia. Lovely car. So why did I sell it? Well, first off, the reason why I bought the Insignia is it was a big upgrade from my Astra. I'm very familiar with Insignias. I've driven dozens of them over the years. I have an awful lot of experience around Vauxhall Insignias, as they're called in the UK. Here in the Republic of Ireland, they're called Opel Insignias. So that car, of course, was a UK import. I didn't import it. The dealer I bought it from just had it in stock. And yeah, it was a great car. It had loads of room in it, as you've seen in the video. Massive boot, loads of interior space. So I owned that car for a little over a year. And I think, seeing as I'm just one guy, you know, I don't have, you know, my own family, wife, kids, that sort of thing. So maybe a big car like that was kind of wasted on me. I didn't take much advantage of all the space in it and all of its practicality. But nevertheless, it was a great car and I did enjoy my time owning it. Never had any trouble with it, despite some of the horror stories you hear about early Insignias. But I decided I wanted to get something a little sportier, something like a 2-door coupe, rear-wheel drive, something affordable, fun, and I was in a position where I had saved up enough money that I could get something kind of like that, something that I really wanted. Now, there was a few cars in mind, and the one that stood out to me the most was the Toyota GT86 and Subaru BRZ. So for those of you who've been watching my channel for a long time, you know I've been a big fan of those cars and I always wanted one. And I was really close to buying a GT86. I found a 2016 model, and it's actually one you guys would have seen before. I did a review of it at Kelly's Toyota quite a few years back in 2016, I believe. It was the one with the aero kit on it. I was planning to buy that car and have the big spoiler removed and replaced with the smaller factory spoiler because I didn't like the big wing. But I went to drive that car again, and there was nothing wrong with the car. But when it comes to exchanging your own money for a car like that, you have to think realistically, because that was going to be my only car. That was going to be my daily driver, a 2-door sports car. And I spoke to some 86 and BRZ owners, and they've all said, yes, you can indeed drive these cars daily. They're, you know, you can do it. And I've driven them enough to know that, you know, you probably could. The thing is, while the ride is a little on the firm side, even on main roads, I did start to think about where I live. Now, I work in a hotel locally, and to get to it, I work like 5-6 days a week, and you have to go through these kind of country back roads, and they tend to be quite narrow and bumpy, and the road tax in a car is €750 as well. And I started to think, would a GT86 really be a wise investment as a daily driver, especially when I'm going to be driving over bumpy roads? Now, I've driven 86s over bumpy roads before, and I'm not going to say they're terribly uncomfortable, but you do notice the firmness in the ride. So reluctantly, I decided not to buy one. So I decided to get something that could do a bit of everything. Something that was a good looking rear-wheel drive sporty coupe, but also something that was comfortable, economical, practical, didn't cost an absolute fortune to tax. So I bought this. It is a 2017 BMW 4 Series. Specifically, it is a 420 diesel M Sport, and today I'm going to show you guys around this car and explain why I bought it. So, I must admit I never saw myself buying a BMW, especially a 4 Series Coupe, but I guess things just work out. So my car in particular is finished here in Esterol Blue, which is a lovely colour. It's exclusive to M Sport BMWs. You can't get it on any version of a BMW outside of M Sport. You can't even get this colour on the M4. And of course it is the M Sport model, which is probably one of the best looking in the range. Has sportier wheels, bumpers, the interior has a few upgrades over a standard SE 4 Series. But starting at the front, this car has the self-leveling xenon headlights, and as you'll see at night time when I do my little bit of footage, you have the LED daytime running lights running across the top of the headlamp. Front and rear parking sensors, very nice looking front bumper, and the signature kidney grille, which looks absolutely tiny when you compare it to the new 4 Series. And then coming around to the side, this car has the standard 18-inch split 5-spoke alloy wheels on the standard Bridgestone run flat tyres that you get with all BMWs. And also, if we just look back here, you got these gloss black air vents, and this here is actually a functioning vent. So in a lot of cars these days, especially cars that even cost a lot more than this, a lot of these vents are actually fake. Not really sure why manufacturers choose to do that, but in my particular car, this is a functioning vent. So when you're driving along, a lot of air pressure builds up in the wheel arches, and of course it causes a front end lift. So that vent allows the air to channel down the side of the car, allows it to escape. And also at the front here, you notice again this duct, which allows air to feed in to the wheel arches to help cool the brakes, and as I said, it's then fed out down the side of the car. Nice M Sport badge on the front wings. Now this particular car also has the gloss black window trims. Now you can have these finished in either the gloss black or the chrome trim. Personally, I think the gloss black looks very nice. And also this car has tinted rear windows. Now these aren't tinted from the factory. The dealer got these tinted. Now when I first looked at the advert for this car, it was just as they got it. Rear windows had no tint on them. And I was thinking, you know, if I were to buy that car, I would want them tinted. And as it turns out, they just did it anyway. And so when you look at the side of the car, with the tinted windows, I think the gloss black trim kind of hides the glass. Gives a bit of a floating appearance. And also it blends in well with these door mirrors. So of course they're Esterol blue on the top, but you've got gloss black at the bottom and on the sides here. And then coming around to the rear, so this being a January 2017 car, it is the pre-facelift model. So it was in February 2017 when BMW did the facelift for the 4 Series, or LCI as they call it internally. And this is where you can see one of the biggest differences, the taillights. So on the facelifted model, they're slightly different design. And then down at the bottom, got the dual exhausts. And actually, speaking of the bottom of the car, I didn't notice this until recently. I used to assume that this here was just kind of a cheap black plastic, but it's actually painted. I know you can't see it very well with the dirt, but it is painted in a metallic grey. And then coming along to the boot itself. So it is quite spacious. You have to remember that the 4 Series is still based on the 3 Series family saloon, so boot space and room in the back seat is pretty good. You got these latches here on each side for folding down the rear seats, and underneath the false floor there's a good bit of extra storage. So a surprisingly practical car. There's also a little bit of extra storage off to the side there, and then underneath this cover here, just pop it, you just got the screwdriver and a little hoop there for towing. Hopefully we should never need that. And then on the boot lid itself, just your emergency triangle. So definitely happy with this purchase. So how did I even come across the car? Well, I was sitting at home one evening watching TV, ad breaks came on, and as you do, you pull out the phone, you start going through social media and whatnot. I ended up on Dundee. A BMW 4 Series, a 2016 showed up, and I thought the price was pretty nice. So I went in to refine the search results, and I looked up 16 and 17 BMW 4 Series, and this here was one of the cars that popped up. And I liked the price, and I just had to go and view the car. I went up to John McHugh Car Sales, which is where I bought it. It's located in Castlederg, about a little over 40 minutes, I'd say, across the border from Donegal town where I live in Northern Ireland. Sorry, I mean Donegal town is in the Republic of Ireland, Castleberg is in Northern Ireland, in case I came across a bit wrong there. But anyway, I went up to see the car and it was in excellent condition. It needed a new front fog light, but that was pretty much it. It was my first time ever driving a 4 Series 2-door. I did drive a Grand Coupe once a good few years back, but only briefly. And I drove this, I thought it was amazing. Beautiful car to drive, and it was later that evening when I was at home I decided that I was going to buy it. So I think we'll go ahead now and check out the interior. So just pull this latch on the top of the seat and the whole thing slides forward, and it's pretty easy to actually get in and out of the back seat of the 4 Series Coupe. And even back here I have the driver's seat in my driving position, and I still have a good bit of leg room. There's actually cutouts on the back of the front seat which give you an extra little bit of space, and even the headroom is pretty good back here as well. A few things in the back of the car. As I was saying, you got the cutouts here in the back of the front seats, and you've also got the 2 rear vents back here as well, and there's even a little storage tray. Now this here is a very flat, smooth kind of plastic, so anything you put in there is going to slide around even with them little ridges. There's no cover for it. And also we have a center armrest, and if you press this button you've got 2 cup holders as well, and you've also got speakers in the back. Now I'm also going to get some footage of this car at night, and you're going to be able to see the interior ambient lighting, but there does be a light just under this strip here as well. So yeah, I would say to sit in the back of the 4 Series if you're going on a long journey, you'd be perfectly comfortable back here. I mean, you can see how much legroom I have, so it's quite a spacious car. So this car doesn't have keyless entry, just keyless engine start and stop. And it does have the frameless windows, which look very nice. Now the one thing that does surprise me is this car doesn't actually have power folding mirrors. I don't know if there may be an optional extra on a 4 Series, but I would have expected on a premium car like this that you would have power folding mirrors, but instead you have to do it the old-fashioned way. So on the door you just have your electric mirror controls and the front window switches. And down here you got the M Sport on a nice bit of silver trim. Now the front seats themselves, mostly manual controls. There's only one electrical control, which is this one here for these side upholsters. You can choose how tight you want them or how loose you want them. It usually depends on your body frame, and I suppose if you're going into corners fast, if you're doing any kind of sportier driving, you're going to want them on their tightest setting. And then the rest of the controls here are all manual for adjusting the likes of the backrest and the seat base, and you got this handle up here for bringing the seat forward, and this one here actually adjusts the tilt of the seat base. And then you have these manual controlling leg rest. Same on the other side as well. My Insignia had a manual controlling leg rest, but only on the driver's seat. And I got my automatic headlights, front and rear fog lights beside that. So let's just start up the 4 Series and go around it in detail. And as you can probably hear, the little arm comes out trying to hand you the seatbelt. Just foot on the brake. Even tells me when my service is due. So my particular car has 53,940 miles. So this car is in from the UK, like my Insignia was. So I'm quite familiar with BMWs. I'm very familiar with this general layout of the interior. I got automatic rain sensing windshield wipers. Just hit that button there at the end of the stock, and it lights up green. And then the little switch there is for the sensitivity. And of course you got the M Sport multifunction steering wheel, just cruise control on the left and the standard radio and voice command controls off to the right. Now this car has the 8-speed sport automatic transmission, which is an optional extra, and it does add the paddle shifters. The difference between the sport automatic and the regular automatic is not actually in the gearbox itself, but more in the addition of the paddle shifters, but also the design of the gear lever itself. But it's very simple to operate. Just foot on the brake, hit the unlock button here with your thumb, all the way up for reverse, down once for neutral, again for drive, and just P for park. It's pretty simple. One thing I did notice, if you put the car in drive and over to the left for sport mode, where you can change gears manually with the gear lever or of course the paddle shifters, if you press P, it clicks back into the center. I think that's a pretty neat little feature. And then down here beside that you got your different driving modes, so Comfort, Eco Pro, Sport and Sport Plus. So they all display up here on the screen as you go through them. So Eco Pro, and also that little screen down there changes as well. So in Eco Pro mode you'll see the blue writing. That's actually telling you how much extra MPG you're getting as you're driving along, or how much fuel you're saving, I guess. Comfort, which I normally keep it in, Sport and Sport Plus. So just in sport mode it makes adjustments really to the gear changes, so it holds on to the gears for a little longer, and I think it speeds up the throttle response and adjusts the weight of the steering as well. I haven't used sport mode very much in this car. And then Sport Plus, which is on at the moment, same thing, but it loosens up the traction control. It puts it in a dynamic setting, so it's not completely off, but it does allow you to let the rear of the car go out a little bit. But we'll put it back into Comfort. And then you have the iDrive system itself. Now I'm not going to get too in depth with the the iDrive system in this video, because I'm going to do a separate video going through it, because there is quite a lot to go through in this. But I will say I do have the upgraded professional system, so again that's another optional extra that was fitted to this car. So the professional system gives you this wider screen, and it also gives you a little touchpad on top of the iDrive controls here. You also got your shortcut buttons down here, back option, communication, I believe that's what that one is, media, menu, map, navigation, all your various controls there. The iDrive wheel itself, you just scroll it left and right. You can click it left, right, up and down, and push it down to make a selection. And this here is the screensaver. You can choose how long after you stop using the iDrive system that comes on. So I have it set for 30 seconds. But just the basics here. So you got your 6 tiles, media and radio, communication, navigation, connected drive, my vehicle, and then just your notifications. So there is a lot of menus inside these and sub menus. There's an awful lot to go through. That's why I want to try and save this for a separate video if I can, because this video in itself is going to be probably about 20 minutes plus long as it is. But it is a nice system and very easy to use. It does take a little while to get used to. I've used it before in BMWs, but even so I had to spend some time getting used to it. The one thing I will point out, if you hit the menu button while you're on the main menu like this, all of your recent places that you would have visited, I suppose is the way I'll put it, in the iDrive system, your browser history I guess, all comes up down here if you want to shortcut back to it. And then down here you got your standard radio controls. Now this car actually has a feature that I didn't know it was equipped with. You actually just glide your finger across the buttons. As you can see, it highlights the radio stations. Now I saw this first on I think the current generation 5 series. I didn't actually know it was in this car. I mean, I suppose it's kind of a gimmick really. I don't really see how that would ever be very useful. I mean, it's just easier to press the buttons I think, but again it's a feature and it's in my car, so may as well mention it. And then down below that, of course, you got the CD player, your dual automatic climate control. I have the 3-stage heated front seats, so you just press it 3 times to turn it off. But if you do have it on and you just hold down the button, it turns it off that way as well, instead of having to click it the 3 times. And then down below that you got a little bit of storage. You also have 2 cup holders, some change for the parking meters, and there's also a 12-volt power outlet in here as well. Always handy to have extra power outlets. And then you got all the trim on the inside. So this car has the brushed aluminium trim. I think this little bit of extra silver trim down here is called pearl silver or something. I'll caption it in the screen here anyway, so you can see exactly what it is. I also got the auto dimming interior mirror and the black Dakota leather. So I believe the Dakota leather is an upgrade from the standard leather that you would get in an SE BMW. So Dakota is a little higher, and then I think if you go up through the models you get even higher grades of leather. But this here is in very good condition, no rips or creases or any sign of wear and tear on these seats whatsoever. And then in the center you got your leather armrest, a little bit of storage here. Fortunately, these days with the pandemic, you do have to carry the hand sanitizers around, but you got auxiliary and USB jacks in there, and then just a little bit of storage beside that. Not as deep as the storage compartment in my Insignia. I'll just make a note of that. It was a lot deeper in the Insignia, but nevertheless, there's more than enough there for what I need. And of course, we got the old-fashioned handbrake lever instead of the electric parking brakes that we see in everything these days. So that there is basically the interior of my car. It's very nice. As I said, I'm very familiar with these interiors. I've been in and out of BMWs quite a lot over the years. So everything kind of falls to hand. All the controls and everything here is very easy to use. The automatic gearbox in this car is very nice. The iDrive system, it's a good system. I remember the first generation iDrive that I used in the E65 series many years ago now. Yeah, it was very complicated. There's a lot of learning involved. This one does have a lot of menus in it, but you do get used to it in no time. You just have to have some patience and take the time to go through each menu and learn how everything is laid out. So to release the bonnet in the BMW, you just pull the catch twice. Now normally this is where you have to go fiddling around for the latch, but the whole point of the second pull is that it releases it for you. And so it just lifts up like that. So just a little background on the 420 diesel engines. Between 2013 and 2015, BMW were using what they call the N47 motor, which produced 181 horsepower at 4,000 RPM and 280 foot-pounds of torque. And then from 2015 onwards, which is the engine we have in this car, they replaced it with the B47, so got an extra 7 horsepower. So this car has 188 horsepower, again at 4,000 RPM. And it also gained an extra 15 foot-pounds of torque, so it's now producing 295 foot-pounds. Now my average fuel consumption for this car, according to my truck computer, is about 38 mpg. Now there's no doubt if you're driving this car on the motorways and dual carriageways, especially in Eco Pro mode, you'd easily be getting over 40 mpg. But I do mostly urban driving. So the engine in these diesel BMWs, a lot of people have talked about the reliability of them over the years. Now I did a little bit of research when I was thinking about buying this car, and as far as I can work out, the main problem with these 2-litre diesel engines, especially the 420s or the 20D engines in general, because you get it in the 3 Series and the 5 Series for example, was usually, I think, timing chain problems. Now the timing chain on these engines is actually located right back there, not at the front like in a lot of other cars, or at least where the timing belt and timing chain would be in a lot of other cars. Now from the research that I did, the motor that's in my particular car is better than the one before it, so hopefully there shouldn't be any reliability issues. I've read some forums and spoke to some owners, and this here seems to be a pretty solid engine, so hopefully it stays that way. I certainly don't want any engine trouble. That said, in my Insignia, a lot of people talked about how unreliable the 2-litre diesel was in that, and in the time I owned it, never gave a day's trouble. So I don't know if it just affects certain models, or maybe it's to do with the way people drive these things. I have no idea. But the engine compartment in this car is absolutely spotless. You can see just how clean the engine cover is. Not dirty at all. Very well presented. When I went to view this car, as I said, it was in excellent condition. So, we'll just shut it down. Alright, so driving around in the 4 Series for the past 2 weeks. Well, the first thing I can say is it is like a BMW. It's a very comfortable, soft, nice car to drive. I'm actually out here on the local side roads at the moment, and after driving this car on a few back roads, I can say that the ride quality is really very good. This car has run flat tires, and my particular car was also optioned with the adaptive M Sport suspension. I just went over a bump there, barely felt it. So my initial worry was that the run flat tires were going to be very hard and make the ride a bit more uncomfortable than it needed to be in this car. Thankfully though, that doesn't seem to be the case. I find this to be a perfectly nice car to drive, very good ride quality. I would certainly love to take this car on a bit of a road trip actually. Maybe a trip to Dublin someday, or whenever we get out of this pandemic thing, we can actually drive around the country. It would be nice to get this car out in the open roads and really open it properly. I do a lot of urban driving with my cars because the hotel I work at is only 15 minutes away from my house. But I must say, driving it so far, I love it. It honestly just feels like a brand new car. And it handles really well too. I actually drive my car in comfort mode for the most part. It's not often I really put it in sport mode. And I believe in Eco Pro mode, the car makes a few little adjustments here and there to make sure that the car is driving in its most economical settings. So it adjusts things like your throttle response, the gear changes, and even the climate controls, just to make sure it's running at its most optimum. And then sport mode, somewhat, I guess, does the opposite of all of those things. Holds onto the gears a little longer, lets the car rev a little higher, and you know, you can open it up and enjoy it a bit more. Now, my car does have a few options on it. So the professional media system, that's one option. The Astral Blue metallic paint, that's another option. I think the gloss black window trims are optional on the M Sport. I can't remember offhand, to be honest. I know you can have them in either chrome or gloss black. I'm just trying to remember if gloss black was standard on these M Sports. And then, as I said, it also has the adaptive M Sport suspension. I'm not really sure if there's many other options besides those things on my particular car. Well, actually, I got the Sport automatic gearbox too. Yeah, it's a bit of a wet day here in Donegal, but yeah, it's just the way the weather is. And when the weather is like this, the rain sensing windshield wipers are excellent. I tend to keep the sensitivity in the middle. I find if you put up at the very top, the wipers go flat out, even at the slightest drizzle of rain. So I try to keep that more in the middle. But yes, to drive this car on side roads, which I do a lot because of where I work, the roads you have to take out there are kind of like this all the time. The car does handle very nicely. There doesn't really seem to be an awful lot of body roll in it. And it has good grip as well. The traction control system in this car is excellent. When you leave it fully on, like I have at the moment, it barely spins the wheels at all. You'd really have to be properly stamping on the accelerator if you're trying to brake traction with the traction control on. And then if you have it on dynamic mode, the car is definitely very frisky. It does like to hang the ass out, as I've found out twice, all of which were by accident. Didn't try to hang the rear of this car out on purpose at any point ever. That's a lie. Okay, so we're going to come out to the bypass here, see what the power is like. And yeah, it drops a gear and it just takes off. Now that little chime you hear, that is the speed warning, so you can actually adjust the speed warning for yourself. You can decide when you want it to go on. So the fastest you can go really in Ireland is like 62 miles per hour, so I set it to around 65 just to make sure I don't ever go over the limits, because this car wastes no time getting up to speed. You could easily find yourself going over the speed limit in something like this. But out here in the open road, it's smooth, it's comfortable, it's lovely to drive. It's an absolutely wonderful car. And I still can't quite believe that I've bought it. I never had a BMW on my radar. I had a Vauxhall Insignia, which I was perfectly happy with, but this was just such a nice upgrade. And the car in general is just so lovely. It's got so many good standard features. I got cruise control on here. I need to up the sensitivity of the wipers a little bit, I think. I got other controls on the steering wheel for the radio and the voice command system. The iDrive is an absolute joy to use. It's just such a lovely car to drive, so well equipped. I do love it. I actually can see myself holding on to this car for many years. It's been about 3 years since I did a review. I hope I'm not too rusty here. And even these black leather seats, now these I was a little worried about. I wasn't really sure if I wanted black leather. I was kind of worried about how they would wear over time. I was worried about the temperatures of them. In summertime, black leather can get very hot, and wintertime it can get very cold. I suppose that's not much of a problem for me in winter because I do have them heated. But to be honest with you, they feel perfectly fine. This is the Dakota leather which you get in the M Sport models. It's a nice premium leather. It's nice and soft. It's lovely. I guess time will tell how these seats hold up, but so far they seem to be in excellent condition. There's no rips or tears or anything like that on them. But I think maybe after my first year of ownership, I'll really know this car off and I'll know exactly what the materials are like and how they wear over time, especially the black leather seats. Okay, so we'll do another pull. Yeah, it's pretty generous on the power. I know this is only the 420D. I mean, you can get a 425D, which is the exact same engine as this, but it's a twin turbo. It has well over 200 horsepower, and then you can have a 430 diesel, and then there's all the petrols. Now, when it comes to engine choices, I will be honest, I did kind of want a 420i, but I gotta tell you guys, this is Ireland. Diesel is the engine of choice, or the fuel choice, to be more specific. I was looking for 420i's, and I found one in the entire country that was in budget, that was an M Sport 2-door coupe. The only problem with it was a high mileage car, and it had a very bright red interior. Now, I like red. I have no problem having a little bit of red trim in the car, but I do not like the entire interior to be caked in red, which it was. The seats were all bright red, and I thought, that looks terrible. The actual car itself was white on the outside, which did look nice, but I really couldn't find any other 420i's. The only other petrol-powered 4 Series was the M4. Unfortunately, I don't have the money for an M4. Would have been nice to have one. But yeah, the 420 diesel is the most popular type of 4 Series. That said, actually, the 20D engines, which you can get in the 3 and 5 Series, are very popular because it's really all the power you could need, most economical. Yeah, it just seems to be the go-to choice of engine, really. And I can kind of see why now. After driving around in this car for 2 weeks, this engine is an absolute peach. It's lovely. It's very quiet out on the open roads, but unfortunately all 4-cylinder diesels, when they're sitting idling, do make a bit of a rattly sound, as so many people have reminded me over the years on my YouTube videos. But what can you do? In a country like this where diesel is the most popular, that's just the way it is. So I think I'm gonna sum up my car now. I absolutely love it. Love the model, love the color, love the spec. Was very happy with the price I got it at, and I'm so happy I bought this car. I'm going to switch over to some footage of the car at night, and then we're going to wrap up the video. Okay, so we just have the exterior lighting on. You can see the xenons and the LED daytime running lights at the top. And of course the LED side repeaters on the exterior mirrors. Also a little bit of the light comes along to the inside as well. If I just open the door, you can see a little bit of the ambient lighting. It's not the brightest, but there's just a little glow up there by the door handles. See if we can see the ambient lighting a little bit better in the back seat. Just under the silver trim there, you can probably see the orange glow. I hope anyway. So, looks very well lit up. Very nice array of colors. And if I actually just go into the My Vehicle system, into the lights and the interior lighting. Now, it doesn't look like the ambient lighting is coming up very well on camera, but you got your 2 settings here, the brightness and whether you want classic or sport. So I'll show you these orange lights up here. So at the moment they're in classic, which gives off the amber glow. Well, if I put it in sport, as you can see, they change to white. Unfortunately, it's not showing up very well on camera on the doors, so it's only these little lights I'm afraid I can show you. And then we'll just put back to classic. So we're just going to power off the car. So I know this video has been a little over 40 minutes long, so sorry it's been so long, but we're going to wrap it up there now. And again, you can see the LED lights, part of the light design package and the door handles. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And as I says, there'll be a few more video clips coming in the not too distant future. I'll be going over things like the BMW applications that you can get. So guys, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the next one.